Good morning. This is an introductory study of Hegel's Science of Nature. Today we're taking up the second main division, physics. First, a brief review. As stated, Hegel's absolute science, the universe is the whole's knowledge of itself in and through us, has three parts, or four if you include the phenomenology or introduction. Science's necessary preliminary, which takes you out of Plato's cave of separateness and multiplicity into the unity of absolute knowing and the concept, unfolded in logic and the foundation of absolute science and the real sciences of nature and spirit. So, in brief, we start with the concept, the truth and reality, in logic, in pure thought, the inner, and due to polarity of necessity, we advance to the outer, or the concept as and in nature, self-externality, space, and matter, which, though necessary, is a contradiction, an unresolved, quote, contradiction, whose destiny is to cancel or set itself aside. Quote, nature has vanished, as Hegel says. Nature has returned into the inner, logic or thought, but now as spirit, enriched by nature, qua the human animal body or organism. Spirit being the absolute truth as the unity of logic and nature, thought and matter, the ultimate end and consummation of absolute science, containing all that preceded, all moments within itself. Now, the science of nature has three parts: mechanics, or matter, physics, or qualified matter, and organics, or living qualified matter. In mechanics, we saw the first overcoming of nature's externality as space and time, with matter's forming itself into the solar system. First, the deduction of matter itself from place and motion, then the deduction of the forms of relative motion in finite mechanics, then lastly, the deduction of the solar system itself, or absolutely free motion, from gravitation, the true concept of matter, comprehended as the unity of attraction and repulsion, which alone can explain why, e.g., the planets do not fall into the sun, and why and what the four principal bodies of the solar system are, and their respective three motions. Now, physics, our focus today, is divided into the physics of the universal individuality, that of the particular individuality, and that of the total individuality. The key to physics is in the word individuality, that is, concrete or qualitative individuality, which was lacking in the abstract or quantitative material individuality pertaining to the matter in mechanics. Here, we are simply tracing the becoming of individuality, where bodies are able to be distinguished from each other, and which is only completed in nature's final division, organics, or life. Two important points concerning logic and the concept, and how philosophical or absolute science differs from the empirical sciences. As Hegel says in paragraph 246 and Zusatz, quote, "As the philosophical science of nature is a comprehending, begreifend treatment, it has as its object the same universal as ordinary physics, but explicitly. And it considers this universal in its own immanent necessity, in accordance with the self-determination of the concept." He continues, "Not only must philosophical science be in agreement with our empirical knowledge of nature, but the origin and formation of the science of nature presupposes and is conditioned by empirical physics. However," says Hegel, "the course of a science's origin and the preliminaries of its construction are one thing, while the science itself is another. In the latter, the former can no longer appear as the foundation of the science. Here, the foundation must be the necessity of the concept." As Hegel says and clarifies, quote, page 10, Miller, "The philosophical science of nature takes up the material which physics has prepared for it empirically at the point to which physics has brought it, and reconstitutes it, so that sense experience is not its final warrant and base. Physics must therefore work into the hands of philosophical science, in order that the latter may translate into the concept the abstract universal transmitted to it, by showing how this universal, as an intrinsically necessary whole, proceeds from the concept." 2. The other all-crucial key to the science of nature we mentioned last time at Miller, page 80, is this, quote, "We shall pursue the solar, planetary, lunar, and cometary natures through all the further stages of nature," end quote. Now, since logic and the concept undergirds nature and its science, mechanics correlates with being and its categories, physics with essence and its categories, and organics with the concept and its categories. As Hegel says at paragraph 247 Zusatz, quote, "In physics, the determinations of the concept now receive materiality, and we now enter logically into the sphere of essence, where these determinations of reflection, hence of matter, now develop as forms, namely, identity, qua the sun and light, difference and opposition, qua the moon and rigidity, and the comet and dissolution or fluidity, and ground, qua the earth and earthiness." Okay, briefly, in physics, we see matter manifesting and revealing its inner form and qualities. Thus, in the universal individuality, U, we first have the four bodies of the solar system and their qualities, then the four elements, and finally, the four elements meteorological process. In the particular individuality, P, we see the qualities which first enable individual bodies to be distinguished from each other, namely specific gravity, cohesion, sound, and heat. Finally, in the total individuality, I, we have the unity of the first two, namely, first, shape and magnetism. Secondly, color, odor, taste, and electricity. And thirdly, chemism, the anticipation of life, as the processes of combination and dissociation.